Hello, welcome to episode 10 of the Trans-Canadian. I apologize in advance for the sound quality on this video. It's cold now in Canada, my furnace is running and I'm filming this in the basement, so there is a bit of background noise. Anyway, in this episode I'm going to talk about time. Well, it's about time, I hear you say. To which I say, yes, that's what I said. Specifically, I'm going to talk about the collective psychosis that grips most of North America twice a year, the insane ritual of changing our clocks. That's right, I'm going to talk about daylight saving time. Daylight saving time was invented by a New Zealand entomologist named George Hudson. He wanted extra time after his regular work to do field work. So basically, we go through this twice a year because some asshole in New Zealand wanted more time to collect bugs. We even have a cute little mnemonic to remember which way to change the clocks. It goes, spring forward, fall backward. Of course, in the southern hemisphere, their mnemonic is spring backward and fall forward. Many industries lobby for daylight saving time. For example, the sports and leisure industry and the retail industry, they like daylight saving time because they say people are more likely to play sports or go shopping after work if there's more daylight time. Sleep experts say that the shift forward in spring causes health problems such as an increased risk of heart attacks and more motor vehicle accidents. So it's a certainty that some people are going to die every year because of the shift to daylight saving time. And it's also likely that some of those are going to be infants. So, sports and leisure industry and retail industry, you're increasing your profits by murdering babies. Shame on you. That's called political discourse in 2019. Oh, and by the way, in the southern hemisphere, they go forward in spring and backward in fall, just like us. But you weren't paying close enough attention to notice that. And what's so depressing is that there's actually widespread support for getting rid of the twice yearly shift, but politicians haven't been able to get anything done. That's really depressing because if we can't solve something this simple, how are we going to solve actual controversial issues? Some people say that Canada can't change its time zone policy unless the US follows suit. They claim it will hurt cross-border trade, which makes perfect sense because, as we know, nobody in Toronto ever does business with anybody in Chicago. I mean, that hour of time difference just can't be overcome. There's a story about a group of monkeys. They were put into a cage. There was a ladder in the middle of the cage, and hung from the ceiling above the ladder were some bananas. However, whenever a monkey attempted to climb the ladder to get the bananas, all of the monkeys were sprayed with freezing cold water, and eventually they all learned not to climb the ladder. Then the researchers took out one monkey and put in a new monkey who'd never been in the cage. When that monkey tried to climb the ladder, all of the others ganged up and fought it back, and eventually it learned to avoid the ladder. The researchers repeated this until eventually there were no monkeys in the cage who knew about the ice-cold water, yet they all somehow knew to avoid the ladder. No ice-cold water was necessary to stop them from approaching it. We are the angry monkeys. We do this bullshit ritual twice a year without even knowing why. So, if we are going to keep daylight saving time, I have a modest proposal. In the spring, rather than going forward an hour in one day, I think we should go forward by 2 minutes a day for the first 30 days in March. That way, our bodies won't even notice it, and we'll get plenty of exercise running around the house, changing the clocks by 2 minutes each day. That's ridiculous, you say. No, I'll tell you what's ridiculous. What's ridiculous is that Louis C.K. is on record as saying that he likes to masturbate, but doesn't like to be alone, and yet people still pay to see his shows. And some of them sit in the front row. People, What's wrong with you? Aren't you taking the man at his word? You're sitting in the splash zone. But actually, Louis C.K. is not such a young man, so I suspect that as time goes on, his shows will be more and more anticlimactic.